Okay, so you're a small business owner and you've been posting consistently on your social media platforms and you're just not getting the engagement that you want. Well, it's time to take a look at your community. And are you building your community in a sustainable, long lasting way so that it will continue to grow as you grow your company? Well, today we're going to talk about how to engage outside of just likes. But a few things have to be true first. So let's look at what has to be true before you can actually do that. So, beyond likes and shares, how to spark real community engagement. What has to be true first? Well, just a couple of things, but you have to know your target in order to be on the correct platform. If you are not on the correct platform, it will be more difficult for you to build your community. And part of picking the right platform is understanding your ideal client so that you can meet them where they are. It also helps if you like the platform yourself. If you hate it, it's going to be very difficult to force yourself to engage on that platform. So I would never sign up for Snapchat because I hate it. I hate it. And I would not be able to force myself to do it. So I don't do that. So make sure you are in the right place. You also need to make sure that you're consistently posting strong content. It is the foundation for everything. I'm actually in the middle of a training right now, and the person who's doing the training keeps saying, make sure you're posting consistent content. Uh huh. That's where everything starts. It's the foundation. You can't build until the foundation's done. You also need to make sure that you have the complete and correct about information so that when your community does want to engage you and they do want to hire you or they do want to buy from you, they can. You would be surprised at how many companies, how many businesses don't have the right phone number or have the wrong website or their website isn't. I mean, it is 2024 and there are still people who have not updated the security on their website and Google won't show them anymore. So everything needs to be correct so you can make it as easy as possible. You also want to make sure that you're already replying to comments and messages, which some people don't do, which again, it's you're working so hard to get those comments, you have to reply to them. And then, of course, you have to be active online. You can't post and ghost. You do have to spend some time on the platform in order to grow. So, knowing that these foundational things are done, now what can you do to build your community? And community is really the way of the future. Every major social media expert, publication, resource is all saying that community is going to be the big thing in 2024. I would argue that it has been the big thing. You will do so much better with a strong community, strong presence. It's better to have 100 really engaged followers than to have 1,000 people who don't know who you are. So let's talk about how to engage your community. Now that you've grown some, how do you connect? Well, one of the first things you want to do is be transparent. People can tell when you're faking it. If you are just be who you are. You don't have to use filters, you don't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be perfect, just be you. You already have clients who are purchasing you. So just be that person online. I tend to surprise people when we have because they'll see me on TikTok or they'll see me TikTok is probably the best example, and then they'll schedule a call. They're like, it's your voice, you're the same person. Yeah, this is who I am all the time. So just be transparent, be yourself. The second thing you want to do is get personal. Tell people your story. It's okay to let people know where you started. It's okay to know that you had failure at some point. I will be the first person to tell you I'm an experiential learner, and I have absolutely, in the last 14 years, figured out the hard way how not to do things because I did them wrong. Eh, Without fail, I have made plenty of mistakes. It's not about making mistakes, it's how you respond when the mistake is made. So you just you have to be able to kind of shake it off and keep going. And part of that is telling your story. People relate to that. Not everybody is are not every person is where you are. And people tend to compare themselves to where you are now instead of where they were 2 years ago. So keep that in mind and tell your story. You also want to listen to their story. So if they have something to tell you, if they have feedback to share, you need to listen. It's great when someone actually reaches out to you and starts talking to you and telling you about their story. One of the biggest things I see, especially with business owners, They don't want the feedback. You have to be able to listen to the feedback. You have to be able to set your ego aside enough so that you can respond and receive what they're telling you. If you're doing something wrong, it's better to receive that information and improve it than it is to argue. You don't argue with the person, it's their opinion. They can have whatever opinion they want. Now, not every opinion is going to be correct, and it's all not going to be the best decision for you personally, but you do need to be able to receive the information in a way that you can improve. It will help you long term. And again, as a small business owner, I would much rather have somebody tell me, I don't like this, this doesn't work for me, than to just be angry and go away. Tell me so I can fix it for you. Yeah, yeah, I want to know that stuff. Okay, you also want to keep it simple. People tend to overcomplicate your message, who you are. It's a simple engagement. You don't have to overcomplicate any of your posting, your messaging, your just keep it simple, easy. You also have to know your ideal client avatar, which we've talked about already, but part of that is checking your analytics. It is important and encouraged to check your analytics consistently. How do you know what's working if you don't go look at it? The posts that get your biggest engagement, the posts that get your biggest response, keep doing that. If it worked once, it will work again. So you want to figure out what works for you and move in that direction. And that only comes from checking your analytics. It's not a gut feeling. Numbers are numbers. Number 6, you also want to show your personality. This comes back to that being transparent. People relate to feelings, and they will always remember how you make them feel. So if you're passionate about helping them, if you're passionate about what you do, if you are irritated, sometimes that's a good thing to show through. Some of our very best video engagements are when I talk about things that bother me. I think it's okay to tell people that you're not happy with it either, especially if it's your industry. If you are a wedding vendor and there's a certain trend that you don't care for, I think it's okay to let people know that. That's part of that transparency, part of that passion where they understand it doesn't all have to be perfect. Again, done is better than perfect. You always want to be a resource. You want to be the person that they can come to and ask questions, the person who will answer their questions, because when people see you as a resource, it validates you as the expert. And when it's time to hire, you're the person that comes to mind. You're the one that they want to reach out to so that you can help them. So always be a resource. Um, you do definitely want to tag people in locations when it's applicable. I would never encourage you to do spammy tagging. That drives me crazy. It's the fastest way to get an unfollow for me. I can't stand it. But if you are on location, if you are at Auburn University and you're giving a presentation, absolutely tag the location so people can see that you're there. Lisa says, position yourself as the expert. You have to. People need to understand that you are absolutely the best person to ask the question, which is why being a resource works in your favor. If you can answer their questions when they're frantic, they're going to come to you when they're ready. That's how that works. Thanks, Lisa. You also want to engage on an individual level. And engaging on an individual level is going to look different on different platforms and for different people. Engaging individuals can be not only responding to DMs and comments, but it also means following and commenting on other accounts, replying to their replies. It means being online and talking to people where they are. So if you are part of a group, online wedding vendors group, and you want to network with more wedding vendors, go spend time in the group. Answer their questions, position yourself as the expert, tell your story. Again, people will relate to you better, and that's where your community starts to grow. You also want to, especially groups are just on, and it's now true as much on Facebook as it is on LinkedIn. That is where you're going to garner your best engagement, really build your community and move forward. Groups. Collaborate if you can. Collaboration does not have to look like tit for tat. That's really not how that works. It needs to be symbiotic. So it does need to benefit both people, but you're also not keeping score. If you can help a vendor or a colleague or a friend, do it. Do it. And then if you need help later, ask for help. But collaboration doesn't have to be a paid influencer. It can be another business owner who is similar to you, where you post something for them and they post something for you. Very simple. But collaboration is key. That gets you in front of their audience. Be a guest speaker, be a guest podcaster, be a guest blogger, so that you can start building your community in someone else's backyard. Exposing yourself to other audiences is, again, another great way to grow the community. And when you are a guest speaker on a podcast, you are getting in front of an audience that you are not currently in front of now, and that helps grow your community. That's how that works. So collaboration is key. Now, can you pay an influencer for engagement? Sure. But I would tell you, quality over quantity. If you're going to do that, pick a micro influencer that has a lot of weight in your industry or field versus a Kardashian who doesn't know who you are and doesn't care. Find someone who is as invested in it as you are. I'd rather have someone who has a strong 10,000 than someone who, again, has a weak 100,000. So make sure that it works for you in your industry. And then finally, host events where you can. Now, I don't mean cocktail parties, although that can be fun too. I mean, host events that promote engagement. And an event can be a contest. It can be a survey. It can be an online Q&A. It can be a live. Hosting these events where you put yourself out there, again, build your community. People feel like they know me because they see my face every week or they hear my voice every week. And that's great. That's exactly what I want to happen. I want people to feel comfortable approaching me and asking me questions, because there are still people who are, I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. There's young and old people who are baffled by social media, and that's okay. You don't have to be good at it. That's what we're here for. So I don't want you to feel bad about asking questions. I don't want you to be intimidated about speaking up and saying, hey, I need help with this one thing. And I might be the only person who's I promise you, first and foremost, you're not the only person who's had trouble. We do occasionally get stumped, but normally it's something we have heard before, or it falls into a category that's very common. So never feel bad about reaching out and asking when you need help. Okay. All of that being said, community is key, and it's one of the best ways for you to grow not only your brand, but your sales. People will spend more money when they understand more about you and what you bring to the table. Now, if you would like to join us on our podcast, I'd love to see you this week. We have a Social You podcast that comes out every Tuesday. It's much more conversational, where we cover more social media topics. You can catch that on any major platform for podcasts. We will include a link in the comments. Please, you guys, if there's anything I can help you with, feel free to reach out. We do respond to comments and DMs. And until next week, I am Karen Taradas, and I'm here to help. Thanks.